Hello YouTube, welcome to episode 9 in the Serial Experiments Lain reaction series. Just a bit of housekeeping here to start off, and I've got a couple of things to say, I guess. One, there'll be kind of one episode this week, which I'm sorry for, but there's reasons why. That kind of goes in my second point. I did an overnight shift last night, and I've had, not much sleep. It's very cool. So, normally I do a 2-day rollout for these, where I record one day and edit the next day, but I could not record the previous day because of other commitments, and then I have to record today, and I'm really tired, but I'm on the coffee, I should be okay, but I don't trust me to do 2 episodes of a serious show like Serial Experiments Lain in this kind of state, I guess. The other thing is, so if I did do 2 this week, then I would be leaning into something like a 3-episode finish off point next week, which is increasingly impossible considering I'm going on holiday next week. I got to get prepared and that kind of thing, and normally Wednesday, Thursday will be my recording days, and those are the days that I have to get ready. So what I think we're going to end up doing is 1 this week, 2 the next week, and then 2 the week after to finish the show off. When I say the week after, I also mean there's a week gone there because I'll be on holiday. But again, we'll get into that next week. Either way, I think that this will be a good cool down off of last week anyway, because it was pretty intense. Really great episodes last week. Really enjoyed episode 8 a lot. Speaking of, I've got the YouTube comments here to go through. Only the 2 today, which isn't too bad. Sharky4987, first comment here. Just episode 8, let's go. Been waiting for this one. Well, thank you. I hope it lived up to all you thought it would be. It kind of threw me for a loop and made me really depressed for the rest of that day. So hopefully there's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel in this show. Hopefully. I don't know. I'm feeling optimistic today. And I can't really justify why, because I really shouldn't be, because it's Lain, and Lain always goes poorly. Every single time. I'm imagining we go into the mum at this point now I'm thinking about it, because I'm wondering what else could go worse. Like, Mika's donezo, Alice has been betrayed, Lain, I don't even know what's happening with Lain anymore, and who else do we even remotely care about? The parents, I guess? Are we going to get some revelations there, I guess? We will see. Either way, second comment here by Simon, kind of implying everything will be interconnected going forward, so it's hard to talk about things without going into spoilers. So hopefully we can get to the last episode and then we can start to talk about our feelings in totality and, have all the information available to all of us. That would be good. Simon thinks it's implied that Lain leaked everybody's information on the internet, not just Alice's. Hence, there was that visual element of all the people wearing Lain's bobblehead face. That's kind of your visual element getting that across. Information is for sharing on the internet. That's what it is. Apparently I said this myself at one point, that there's actually 3 lanes. There's Scared Lain, Mad Lain, and Funny Lain. I guess? Yeah, I thought that Mad Lain and Funny Lain were one and the same. You know what I mean? She's multifaceted. I think there could even be more lanes, much like there is different perceptions of different people by different people all the time. I think that's what we're getting into. And yes, these lanes can manifest at any time and any place. I think this is because of the psych and the power lines, and the whole implication with the psych in particular was that, hey, you can access the internet from any point, just doing anything, right? That was the scary part, that she could, be touched by this at any point. She doesn't need to be glued to the screen. And yeah, the blurring of the lines between the wired and the real world is a massive theme in Lain. So yeah, watching it going forward as well. Lain has a lot of POV shots with someone looking at you in the eyes, unsettling, deliberate. Again, it's a show that challenges humanity. Eyes a view into somebody's humanity. You look them in the eyes and you see what they're really about. At least in a lot of fiction. So playing with this, with POV, and directly looking at the camera is a very purposeful technique, of course. And apparently my interpretations are very interesting as well. A deviation from what Simon thought before. And yeah, kind of holding back a little bit here at the end as well, which I appreciate. It's a pretty dense show. There's a lot to write about if you want to find it. Either way, again, these episodes last week, they're kind of stream of consciousness. So I've got a recap section, but again, I don't think it's relevant to go into, hey, we saw that one neat guy on the computer and he was looking at the Knights logo. I think it's better to talk about things in totality. So I've got reveals, I guess, is a section here. Lain is part of the Knights, or at least one part of Lain is part of the Knights. This explains a lot of things. This explains the kids, the Lain in the sky. This explains the traffic incident. This explains lots of stuff. This explains Mika. This explains what's going on there with her whole dream sequence, where she saw the Knights logo there. Also, speaking of the Knights are just like 3 random people. It's like a housewife, a neat guy, and like a real Patrick Bateman businessman like operator. Evil Lain has been spreading misinformation on the internet. I guess it isn't misinformation. It's more like secrets from Alice. And Alice is mad at that, which is fair enough, basically. It's a pretty big secret that she revealed. Very, very personal moment, let's put it that way. And yeah, I think Lain is now being shunned. I don't know what's happened to Lain, actually. So what has happened to Lain after final scene is she gone. She kind of faded a little bit, and then she was just left in her room at the computer, hand on the screen, going, looking for that connection through the screen. Great scene, by the way, heartbreaking. I'm just wondering if she still exists, which Lain exists, what are we going to see now, how's the show going to be structured. This is kind of our real bad low point. Again, I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel. I don't see a heroic ending here for Lain. I really don't know where we're going, honestly. Either way, I guess the most concrete plot element we have is the CIA guys that I said were CIA actually work for Tachibana. So Tachibana are going to introduce a new protocol at some point, which will limit a lot of this stuff. Limit? Again, we'll see. And maybe they just want all the power. Also, the God of the Wired is saying some weird stuff. So spreading information equal good, and then spreading of Lain equals good, and then everybody has part of Lain inside of them is good as well. Because of all these different sides of Lain, she is a very every-person protagonist, so we can project a lot of ourselves onto Lain through whatever lens we see. Personally, I think if you're a little more quiet, computery, and, introverted, you may see a lot of yourself in Lain, and then these different aspects of your personality coming out through the internet. That's definitely a sub-theme there. I've kind of gone into it a little bit already, but I've got a couple of ideas here. So again, is there an actual separation now between the lanes, a different lane? Is one lane going to fight another lane at some point, is my point. Is there like a clear delineation now? Because before it's been implied, and Lane's been acting weird, and we didn't quite know what was going on. But now we've got a pretty clear separation from that scene in the white where one lane walks out of the other one. Again, kind of like what Simon was saying as well, we've also got a theme around first-person perspective. I'm also thinking about the fourth wall kind of breaking opening lines of each episode. They're almost talking to the watcher. There was the one in episode 8, which is like, do you want your heart to be broken? You should watch this episode. And yeah, it worked. So we're going to watch out for that. It's kind of talking to me a little bit, the watcher. It's breaking the fourth wall. As always, predictions, no clue. I think we'll start to follow a little bit more of this Tachibana stuff in general. I think we need to resolve Mika and her whole downward spiral. I think the mum needs some stuff soon, if I had to be really specific, because I don't think the mum's just going to stay, like, really separated and like she is the whole time. I think there's going to be a change there. Either way, just my shill stuff before we jump into episode 9 right now. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I can do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you'd like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join the Discord, love the Discord, do the Discord thing, comment about Lain on the Discord, all sorts of stuff. Either way, jumping into episode 9 of Serial Experiments Lain right now. Rightio, got episode 9 of Lain up here ready to go. Let me pop that up on screen. 23 minutes and 52 seconds on this one, so sync up accordingly. As always, picture-in-picture version in the description below. Just going to give it a 3, 2, 1 and jump in. Rightio. 3, 2, 1, go. Present day, present time. It's that time of day. Alright, let's immerse myself. Okay. I've been thinking, right, when I replace Lain, at whatever point that may be, it's looking like about 2 or 3 weeks. I might try to make the show a little bit more jovial. Because it is depressing. Like, Symphogear is the only real show that isn't a bummer. Well, last week's Monogatari was a bummer anyway. That was a sad episode. But normally it's pretty funny as well. But yeah, just something light, maybe to replace Lain. But we'll see. Because those sort of things don't really do well in reactions either. Except for what's some pure slice of life. I don't know how that would go down, even though it's one of my favorite genres. But anyway. Just spitballing. Yes, okay, I can focus now. There's new content. Okay, we're back to our god. That's comforting. Okay, protocol. I know about that. That's something I talked about already. Oh, that's super grainy. It's like Mars footage. The music's cool too. Okay. Alien? The music's fantastic. Conjecture has become fact and rumor has become history. Alright, random as hell. Sure. Is it aliens? Are we doing aliens? Maybe. We should go back to our 40s lifestyle. Yeah. It was rough last episode. It was. I'd be in my like onesie too. Like that's actually really interesting. I'll talk about that. When was the last time we saw her in the onesie? Who's gonna see you? What's going on there? Okay, someone's in. Somebody took a step. Who? This episode's fantastic so far. What is happening? Still like glazed over eyes. Not very interesting. Is it? Little alien man? Who is that? Hello? A LeMayo? What do you mean there's aliens? Okay. Or it was a figment. This is why predictions are pointless. I never could have predicted that an alien would walk into a room. Why? But what about it? MJ12 document. Magic. Okay, yeah, aliens. Well, in the back of the audio there too is great. But why aliens? I mean, we're talking about God. There was God in the start. God and alien has been a pretty classic old connection there. Alright, but we're diving in. What's in the Wired? What do they have to say about the aliens? Again, disembodied, just pieces of people. I can watch, I can listen, but I can't talk. Okay? But who is you? How long? Yeah, but you can be anything you want on the internet. You can be a child. Again, I'm like this Lain, like, is always been a product of the Wired, and then real Lain was actually the fake Lain all along. Okay, back to our documentary. Yeah. Whoa, okay. Sure. Busy guy. Alright. Purposely disjointed this episode too. Hello, Lain. We're in Siberia. What is that? Is this something I should know? Okay, some Knights shit. Echo. Okay. Is this gonna have like a point? Okay. Networking. Alright, we're back. It's our three kids again. Hello. This is very much mirroring like episodes, I think it's episode 3. Lane's back. I thought it was the opposite. Oh yeah, she was jealous, I remember that. You definitely did. I saw it. I remember seeing that. Oh yeah, he wants the wild Lane, of course. Are ya? The music's still crazy, by the way. Okay. Good for you? I can't believe she put it together herself either. Taro, you little alien boy. Okay, yeah, because he knew about the psych before. It's you? You're in. We're all the real Lain. I'm pretty sure there was. Okay. Good for you? Are you sure about that? He just tripped? Strange? Oh, menacing? It's almost over? At least you guys have been touchy-feely. Okay. It's almost over. How's Mika doing? Oh yeah, well, that's good. Still can't really talk, huh? Gonna be able to think something, maybe? Moshi Moshi? I'm so lost this episode, man. I don't know what to say. Okay, great. I love that, though. Fantastic editing. Stop it. Oh, see, that track took them to that place? Of course you know. Okay. Feed him the chip. It's kind of like the drugs from episode 2. Ordinary crackers? I agree. I thought she was part of the Knights. Or one part of her is. One truth. Okay. It's the power to control everything, basically. whatever the truth is in a world of so much information. Well, we knew that, yes. Good old Mew Mew. Thanks, Taro-kun. Kissu? Okay. I mean, she didn't look like she felt any kind of way. No. But anyway. It's a metaphor. Ugh. Oh, back to the documentary. Ted Nelson. Xanadu. Of course. It's also a song by... He created the hypertext. The hyperlink. I am so lost this episode. Hello, Navi. Memory check. Sup? There's a pretty clear separation there. What's going on? This is what they mean by it's finally over? This is your home now. Trippy? It most certainly is. What do you mean they? It's like talking to your own memory. Okay, and then just cut off. Your identity may be a lie. Okay, back to the documentary. Alright. Schumann. There's some kind of frequency around the whole... This like conspiracy theory stuff. Whoa. Okay. Crazy person theory? It's interesting. Indeed. The music's been a standout this episode. It's been magnificent. This is pretty trippy. Indeed. Masami Eri. Or Eri. Yes, okay. It's all connecting. That 7th protocol. What are Tachibana up to? Oh, that's no good. But somebody probably stole her weirdo experiment, right? Who the fuck is that? What's she doing outside, Lain? What's going on? Who is that? Okay. I don't really like the look of that, but that's the guy from that picture. Okay. I was wondering when it was going to happen. I didn't expect it to be there. Yeah, I hope I gleam some more off of a rewatch, because this will be a little bit excruciating if not, because it'll be like a whole week of just being like, I don't know, I guess. I think the implied thing is that Lain, as like the Lain we knew, was never the daughter of the parents or part of that family. She got taken in by that family at some point. This probably explains why Mika's so distant, why everybody's so distant. Because Lain's not really part of the family like that. But again, Lain doesn't know that. She just thinks that this is how it works. And we're bringing in aliens as an idea, and Earth as a whole Schumann network thing, and then this guy being part of that team that's just appeared right there at the end. And it was Taro-kun, right? He was part of the Knights, or not part of the Knights. But he's associated. He's been doing stuff with the music at Siberia. That's been doing some stuff. Radio, time to jump into a little bit of, I guess, analysis, looking back at stuff and trying to make sense of it. Either way, on this episode of Lain. So I think more than anything else, episode 9 of Lain is kind of characterized by an editing style. We have kind of some plot stuff with Lain, right, being juxtaposed specifically with very harsh cuts with, I guess I called it a documentary. It's a set of information about different things that have happened in the past that have some general ideas about the show and what has happened and that kind of thing. It's not quite a lore dump, but if you like read through it, I'm sure you could find connections to other things that have happened throughout the rest of the show. Our main idea is one truth, one God, one set of morals, one everything, right? A true uniformedness of humanity, if we're talking that broadly. And then we have a bunch of different theories and a bunch of different cover-ups, so that's an idea of the truth. The truth is being smothered by other people all the time. That's why it's got this really conspiracy theory energy to it all. Are we trying to say something about aliens being responsible? I think that's stupid. I don't think that's the case. I think the whole alien thing is just to highlight the idea of the truth and the truth being hidden. And Lain seeing that alien, but then it fading away, is kind of a symbolic look into how the truth can just fade away, right? Or be hidden. Or she's starting to see through to the truth because she didn't see this alien before. Either way, it threw me for a loop in the moment. It was quite funny. What else happened this episode? Lots of damn stuff. I'm just probably going to jump in and see. Hopefully try to come up with a concrete thesis by the end. Again, our most clear plot line going forward is old mate with the... Looked like he had electrical tape down his cheeks. But again, he is seemingly involved in this whole Schumann network wired idea. 7th protocol. I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, either way, gonna go through it, see what I can see. As always, same opening shots, just an idea of humanity as a whole. Green, kind of disgusting. Got this stoplight going on too. Yeah, again, same as last week. If you want to be free of suffering, you should believe in God. Okay, let's break this down a little bit, because I think this is honestly right. A whole lot of angst in the modern world can be alleviated if you believe in a higher power that'll make everything okay. And again, I'm not begrudging that at all. If that's a coping mechanism for the modern world, then absolutely go for it. Whether or not you believe in him, God is always by your side. And I said this could be taken two ways. Again, this could be like a really lovely sentiment, right? Even the people that shun God, God's light will eventually find them and save them and render them under salvation and all these other religious concepts. Or if you are scared of God, if God is maybe vengeful, if God is doing something that you don't want God to do, then this is scary. This is terrifying. I know it's a pretty broad show, Lain. We're talking God, we're talking aliens, we're talking society, we're talking technology, we're talking a lot of huge ideas here. It's a pretty ambitious show, definitely. Because thus far, I don't think we've done anything that's particularly rote with any of it or played out. Or at least if it is played out, this is made in 98, so of course it's played out. Somebody probably stole this and then propagated it a bunch of times. Then we got protocol. So again, protocols, I don't quite know how they work in the real world, but the way they work here is it's essentially a rule set. That's how I see it for the spreading of information on the internet or on the wired. So if you control the protocol, you control everything else, basically. It's very, very important. If Tachibana are involved, then they probably, have some nefarious means for doing so. If the Knights are involved in this protocol, then they probably have some nefarious means for doing so. They want to control this idea of the truth, the one truth, what it actually is. Again, think of Taro's lines before. He's like, truth is truth. There's nothing messing with the truth, if you know what I mean. It's the end-all be-all. It is what has happened. And again, we got the idea of prophecy into event. If we're making that prophecy on the wired, and then that's coming into effect in the real world, then... And there's more and more blurring between the two. Again, protocol, extremely powerful, something that people will be fighting for. Lain is an important player in this, of course, as well. That's the way I see it, anyway. Cool. This is our main, or one of our main editing styles for these segments. So I want to keep an eye on I was going to say the 4x3, but that's just the show. Anyway, it's kind of this grainy filter over everything. This almost looks like Mars footage, but we later find out that it's actually just the desert, the whole Roswell incident. And the music playing right now, it's a very alien to me, I guess I would say. Shout out to the music throughout the episode. The stuff in Siberia was great. The stuff during these segments had my head bobbing. There's some discordant ambient stuff happening through the middle as well that I thought was quite good. Yeah, really stepping up here. It's something really noticeable about this episode and something worthy of praise. So seemingly some of these little vignettes are connected. So this one here is about the Roswell incident, and we later find out lots of different people were involved in the cover-up and had special information privileges and that kind of thing. So what crashed in the desert has yet to be proven, right? There's no semblance of a truth there yet. A truth is being obfuscated. There's only mystery. And because of this, conjecture has become fact and rumor has become history. That is to do with aliens, of course. Because there is no truth, somebody has then created the truth from whatever else. There was a gap there, and now this is common belief. This is what we believe in pop culture the Roswell incident was. And that's our pretty trademark editing style here. We'll just cut that off, and next time we go back into it, we'll just cut straight in. It's very direct. I like it as a technique. It throws you for a loop. It makes the episode feel disorientating. I was on the edge of my seat this episode. I was glued to the TV for information, and I think that's what you want. You want a compelling mystery that is being told in an interesting way. Of course, it wouldn't be a Lain episode without ambience of power lines. We see them still hanging over this room, Lain's room. Got the stuffed animals out, they're well visible. And, okay, so what is Lain wearing? She's wearing her onesie right here. Cool. The last time we saw her wearing her onesie was like episode 2 or episode 3. or episode 1 of them, right? It's literally a symbol of innocence. It's a symbol of childlikeness. Compare and contrast that with some of the outfits Lain is wearing when in Siberia. Very much more adult. She knows a lot more. Again, this is the idea of somebody that, you know, is childlike in their level of knowledge about the greater world and ideas and everything else, right? I think this is fantastic. I think it's a reversion back to the old Lain in a purposeful storytelling sense. And while we're in this state of childlike wonder, we're also going to see the alien, which again makes sense, right? It's about the reveal of information. It's about discovery. It's about learning something that you didn't already know. And of course, she's young right now. She's going to gain that knowledge and then jump out of the onesie. You could also imagine this as a direct aftermath to the end of last episode. So she's at her lowest point, and of course, like, I want to still be me. I still want to be confident in my sense of self, so I'm going to revert back to an old sense of self that I used to have before everything got so complicated. That could be a reason for this choice as well. So we have that opening with Roswell, and aliens in the mind, but I thought this would be the mother, or the father, or Mika, because that would make sense. First she looks over with glazed eyes, doesn't really see anything. And then I see this, and I see this like silhouette, and the arms being that long, and the torso being that long, and the head being that shape, and I'm like, really? There he is, little alien boy. He's almost wearing like a Christian sweater. Yeah, a little bit. This guy's funny. Look at this little fella. That's kind of hilarious, even now. Whatever. Yeah, and again, I've been through the symbolism of it. I don't think there's literally aliens, and that's where we're going. Because, of course, he just, like, fades away. If I could get that on camera. There he is. There he goes. And then fast fade to black. Lain has no reaction, basically. And now we're talking about Jamie Shandera. So a manila envelope arrived at the home of a TV producer. It contained a piece of undeveloped film from an anonymous source. You know, just natural stuff. The film contained the MJ12 document. And this is important stuff to the Roswell incident. So this is the connection there to what we were just talking about. And a whole bunch of names here involved in this little MJ12 incident. It is stated that these men concluded a secret treaty with extraterrestrials as a special organization only answerable to the president. So President Truman's kind of signature on the document was also copied from another document. So he didn't really sign it, so he wasn't aware. So Vannevar Bush is part of the kind of 12 here, and he's the head of MIT's Department of Electrical Engineering. Okay, so I think all of these are connected, and I need to keep an eye on these names. So Vannevar Bush. Yeah, this guy, he comes back later, I'm sure of it. So again, we're watching for the connection there. And again, harsh cut. Let me even go back. So Vannevar Bush on screen. Just straight in, right? Nothing. It's like switching a channel on a TV. Very great. I love the editing style there. I think it's fantastic for what they're trying to do. Lain's going back into the Wired, and I think I'm going to understand this conversation a little bit better now, because I think it was a little bit kind of above me right in that moment during the reaction. So this is something we've seen before. There's certain people on the internet that only have one of these senses, right? The senses of the body. I think one person only had arms back there too, so only has touch. But Lain can manifest them all. Again, a little bit of power scaling shows why Lain is unique. What does it mean to only hear on the internet and see on the internet? And then people have that only talk. Can't do both. How could I turn something that did happen into something that didn't? You want to erase something that has happened. I mean, you have a lot of regrets, right? So, of course you would want to do something like that. They seem to recognize Lain, but Lain doesn't recognize anybody else. Because the flow of information doesn't always go both ways. Some people just collect a bunch and you don't get to know anything about them. That's definitely true. And of course, there's this idea from either last episode or the episode before. Lain of the Wired has always been the first Lain, and she's just kind of projecting this other version into the real world. She's been here since the creation of the Wired. That's why she's so powerful. She is a product of the Wired. That's why there's no connection between her and the rest of her family. But Lain continues to tell them that that's not her. Right? Her is the her that exists right now with her thoughts and feelings. She doesn't want that to change. That's a huge part of everything that's going on. What is the real truth of Lain? Who is the actual Lain? Do we get to know? Has there been conjecture? Has there been different things told about her that are contributing to different lanes being created and all sorts of stuff? Lots of ideas. Ideas at the wazoo. If a being is remembered, that proves it's part of the record. These, like, I guess, static figures are now kind of contemplating their own existence in a way. Like, if we're only products of the wired, then do we even exist? How do I exist? Where do I exist, right? Well, if I can be remembered, then I must exist, right? I am being proven to exist by another entity. And in the end, isn't that all that matters? They question Lane's age here too, and if that's possible. Again, it's all perception. Age is perception in this world anyway. In the real world, don't use that line. Yeah, I fully expect that Lane is some kind of experiment now on like a wired human being integrated into the real world, and that's why everything that's been happening is happening, and some stuff leaked, and there's something going on there. Lain isn't a real human. It wasn't that the wired changed her, it's that she was always changed. Either way, she's increasingly frustrated at the lack of answers here, as I am as well. Then harsh cut, we're back to our documentary, baby. Alright, now we've got the Memex memory expansion concept that has been unveiled by Vannevar Bush in 45. Okay, this is our next connection. So it's essentially that, hey, we're projecting information onto a screen. That's the progenitors to everything else that has gone on in the world. I'm literally looking at a screen right now. It's a very important invention. I don't know if this is true, by the way, what they're saying. I'm thinking that it is, based on history. So Vannevar Bush had an idea of computers before they even existed, and the spread of information and the mass spread of information. He created the basis for multimedia way back in 1945, while he was also working on the Manhattan Project, so, again, busy guy. Can we imply some connections between the Manhattan Project and its eventual nuclear destruction of humanity pending? And the invention of the wired, right? Is that something we can talk about? The invention of information on a screen, is it equally dangerous? Is there some kind of connection between the two? Am I grasping at straws? Maybe. Cool. JJ notices that Lain is in Siberia and calls her over. You forgot this on the floor here yesterday. It's in a similar manila envelope that old mate got the film from the anonymous source that contained the information that was very, I guess, detrimental, that was very secretive, that was very mind-altering, reality-shattering. And now a very similar thing is happening to Lain from an anonymous source. But again, that anonymous source is implied to be Taro, who is working for, or at least being hired by, the Knights. So they want this Lain, whatever this Lain is, whatever that pertains to take this piece of hardware and ingest it, or do something with it, or put it into a PC, or do something with it anyway. Time slows as she sees what's in there. It has this symbol. It's clearly bad news, you would think. Then we have John C. Lilly doing experiments on humans using Native American narcotics in isolation tanks. He believed these experiments connected him to cosmic entities by way of a communication network. Okay, that sounds a lot like our concept of God in the Wired. Apparently there's an ECCO that has been telling people stuff as well through this network. Afterwards, Lilly began some work with dolphins, who use a similar idea of a communication network using radio waves. Ultrasonic waves is what we're using there, and this is similar to our Schumann effect that we explore later on. So, that, again, smash cut out of that, we're now with Lain again. She's talking to the 3 kids from episode 3. They're the ones that explain what the psych is to Lain, basically, and then she installs it, and then shit starts going downhill. So, I want to go back and look at the psych at some point. Does it have some Knight shit on it? Is it part of the Knights? Is it similar to this piece of technology that she's received now? She also got that piece of technology in an envelope that was just in her shoe locker. You know what I mean? An anonymous source gave her something that was, again, reality shattering. So, when Lain receives a similar piece of technology, she'll go to Taro, who was knowledgeable last time, about what it is and how it's important. and they're going to go on a date to do it. This whole date concept brought up last time, but again, Taro wants the wild Lain, not this Lain. And remember that this girl's like super jealous, which is funny as well. But Lain rebuts, like, I'm the only me, right? There is no wild Lain, there is no scared Lain, there is no happy Lain, there's no funny Lain. We're all the same Lain, you know what I mean? Which, again, there's only one in the real world, but we literally saw, how can you say I'm the only me when last episode we saw one separate out of you? I digress. I don't quite know what it is, but seeing Lain in this different light tells them that she's not stuffing around. There really is only one Lain. So she brings Taro home, shows him the setup, which is pretty rad setup. He gets super impressed by it. It's not pretty, but you can keep expanding on it. This kid's super into it, basically. We later learned that he's involved somewhat with the Knights, so again, it makes sense that he'd be interested in technology and that. Great voice acting here from Lain, right? So she puts the piece of technology on the desk there, says, "This is you," to right Taro, like very low voice, and then a little bit more grit in the voice, like the mad Lain, the angry Lain. You're with the Knights, aren't you? Again, contributing to this idea of there only being one Lain. And yeah, she's very serious right now. I think if we're to believe him, he isn't part of the Knights. He is associated. He is not a true member, but he does some work for them. Now, if I remember correctly, the implication was that the computer you, the wired you, was also part of the Knights, but again, I'm unsure if that is entirely accurate anymore. Taro here also says, "You're the real Lain." This is one of the main moments where he's like, shit, this is the wild Lain. I'm here. So in the real world, it's only just me. Get used to it. So if there's only one real me, and other real people have seen me in there, then you only need to manipulate the memories of the people that were there, right? To think I was there, then that creates a truth, and then that is hearsay, and it becomes, again, what we all believe to be true. And Taro is implied to be involved in this, and the music is a huge part of it. That's why we've been focusing on the music. He tries to make a run for it and just falls over. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but sure. And then Lain plays track 44, which is a pretty banging little techno track. The parents hear this music playing upstairs when a boy and a girl go into a room together and play really loud music. But this line, "It's almost over, isn't it?" What's over? I'm thinking that this whole charade of you being her parents and Mika being her sister, and this being her house, and her having a normal origin, we're going to have to stop being her parents soon. So, while we can, should we kiss, basically? Should we make out? Again, we're contrasting a lot of... These two are on and off. They're hot and cold. They'll be superhumanly, intimately connected, right? You know, passionate with each other. And then sometimes they're just super cold, and he's off, doing his computer shit, and not home early, and... yeah, I don't really understand. Even whilst this is happening, he has his eyes up, focused on Lain, right? He's thinking about what she's doing. And then what the hell was happening with Mika? She does this at one point. We're going to talk about it. She is seemingly still disheveled, still got this like sweaty hair thing going on, right? Either way, she's kind of talking, not quite saying anything, until she puts her hand up to her ear. Again, noticing this music as well. The music seems very important. Beep, 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 Roger. Beep, 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 now communicating. Clearly losing it. You're clearly losing it. I don't know why you're clearly losing it. I don't know what has caused that. Well, I do know what has caused that. But I don't know how it's going to manifest. I don't know what you're doing. So let's focus on the editing instead. We're just slow zooming out, like we are watching a scene transpire on a screen. You know what I mean? It's very, very fourth wall editing style to have it like this. It's also like what exists beyond here, what exists in this dark space, in these edges of the screen. We don't know. There should be a house there. There isn't. Why is there not a house there? I don't know. And we fade to black there as well. We disappear back to here. Cool, and what do we notice? So the music is playing and it's almost created a space around them. Has it been altering some memories of where they are and what they're doing? Why are they in Siberia right now? Is the music that important to being in Siberia? And when the music stops, they're no longer in Siberia anymore. So have you been the mastermind behind a lot of Siberia stuff from the get-go? There's only ever been one me. You've just created another me through people's collective memory, right? If a lot of different people remember me being there and being wild, then that'll become the truth, and that'll become a manifestation, and chicken and egg, and it opens a whole bunch of can of worms. Why does this other Lain exist? Who created this other Lain? Has she been there the whole time? Was it just a figment of people's memories that then got turned into a real thing? I don't know. And again, he's feigning a lot of ignorance here, saying, I don't know. And he might not know, but he was still being told by somebody to do this. And if I installed this chip, what would have happened? Would I have gone insane? Would I have killed myself? What would have happened? So she threatens to make him swallow it to see what will happen, and this gets him to spit about what he actually knows and what is actually the truth there. If this was part of the Knight's plan to make her at least ingest this somehow, put it into her computer, one and the same maybe, would it have caused what has happened to everybody else to happen to her? And then they would just manipulate some memory, some semblance of memory of everybody else to make this other Lain appear somewhere? You know what I mean? Like, it'd be like replacing somebody. In a way. Like, this real Lain, the troublesome Lain, the Lain that is going to solve the mystery in the end, should be gone and replaced with a Lain that they can control. Something like that, I think. And again, I could be talking absolute gobbledygook right now. I could be talking nothing. Talking absolute shit. But this is what I think right now. And I think that's the point of these videos anyway. So he starts to spit a little bit. The Knights aren't ordinary. They're after you because you're not ordinary as well. And the Knights are users that are fighting to make the only truth there is into reality. They're here to eliminate hearsay. There is going to be one thing everybody believes, for sure. But what is the truth? Is the truth perspective? But the truth has power because it's the truth. Because it's the truth, it makes it just. It's persuasive, isn't it? Don't you want a truth like that? Don't you want a power like that if you're the one that controls the truth? And then this guy decides he's going. Taro, thank you. Lain is thanking him. And then Lord Smooch here, I'm not sure what to make of it from a, I guess, metaphor perspective. But clearly, like, you can see by his body language early in the scene, he's attracted to Lain. He finds her cute. Now, I don't know about this in a current 2023 landscape, but sure, go for it, King. But he gave her the gum, which is interesting as well. There's something in that. I'm not quite sure what. But either way, we're skipping out of that, and we're talking about Ted Nelson. So Ted Nelson studied under Vannevar Bush and John C. Lilly, the two people that we've been talking about before. Vannevar Bush with the screens. He made the screens and was part of the M12, right? And then John C. Lilly, who did the thing with the dolphins, as well as like human experiments on collective networking through radio waves and stuff. And this guy proposed a giant electronic library in satellites in stationary orbit, which could be used anywhere on Earth at any point in time. But he also studied cult leaders. Pause. He may be up to no good. And that's the Xanadu database. Sounds a lot like the internet. Some kind of collective information network that contains all the, everything in human experience is put up into it. That sounds kind of like that. And the concept of hypertext would make it real. So yeah, the Wired, basically. Apparently some cult leader guy, or some guy that studied cult leaders made the Wired? Question mark? That doesn't seem good. And now we're checking the memory. We're doing a memory check. But whose memory are we checking? Hey, who are these two men in black that are giving Lain, like, there's a clear separation here, right? Rest of the family, all dressed up. And then Lain, in uniform already. Cool, no fatherly love there, dragging her up the stairs, basically. And then, hey, this is the perception of your room. Doesn't look like any room we've seen for Lain, right? So this one has, like, a nice desk, all the stuffed animals. It's very classic, almost true little girl for a 14-year-old. But, yeah, it's a nice room. It's what you would expect a room for Lain to look like. Not what it looks like now, and not what we saw in episode 1, which was nothing. So if one perception is looking at that room and seeing that, and then this perception is looking at and seeing this, technological nightmare, and this is where it starts to get a little bit confusing, because now we have one Lain in the memory talking to another Lain, giving her information. If we're both the same person, then who are those guys out there? I'm you, so I don't know. So you never knew, or your memory's been wiped, or something has happened. But again, the really large implication here is that Lain is not natural. Lain is not everything we've been implying about Lain has been true, about her family situation. And we get depressed old Lain here. She thinks it's a lie. This is another very depressing thought, that everything that I know is a lie. And then just cuts to black. We're left with just that computer ambience and her slump like this. And then, yeah, smash cut into this. And this one's about the ELF band, an ionosphere, and the Earth's surface. There's a big radio wave around the entire world. A constant resonance at a frequency of 8 Hz. This is the Schumann resonance. Schumann resonance. And what is this happening? Like, how is this affecting human brainwaves? If it's a constant thing across the entire world, it should do something, right? You'd think. Maybe. Again, very conspiracy theory. I think I've seen this written on a bathroom wall somewhere. It's the kind of stuff we're looking at here. But again, the idea of conspiracy theory and this is important, because what is the truth, right? What is the real truth? What are we trying to do by controlling the truth? The number of human population is the number of neurons in the brain. Think about it. There's something going on here. Douglas Rushkoff proposes that the consciousness of the Earth itself is controlled by this somehow. And a network may be awakened when the Earth becomes collectively networked. Something may happen. And if, again, it's like a brain, right? If we're all connected, then wouldn't the whole Earth be like one brain and be working towards the same purpose, and something may happen? What is a human but a brain? Can we all become a one human? I'm not quite sure what this has to do with old mate Lily and all that kind of stuff. Not Lily, Nelson, and the creation of all that other stuff. But I digress. Then Lain is looking up, presumably at some power lines or something. There is only one truth, God. I still don't really understand what this God person is, but sure. Implied to be extraterrestrial in some way, but sure. And then we get the more important plot stuff, right? Irie Masami, chief researcher at Tachibana General Labs, further developed upon this hypothesis. And yeah, would be plugged in at an unconscious level without any need for a device. Is this Irie here? If I can draw a circle correctly. Is this Irie here? I'd be imagining so. And then that's the guy we see at the very end. And this is where we're using our Schumann resonance factor and inserting it into a protocol using his own initiative, and that's where we're connecting the stuff. This is where we're taking our idea of this total human radio wave thing and then taking Nelson's ideas and applying that to the internet. And yeah, it makes sense. This is like, it's basically a lore dump to introduce a bunch of new concepts. So if Tachibana is working on a 7th protocol, which has been implied, right, about a universal truth, a controlling of everything, 1 week later, he was found dead. His body anyway, right? Yeah, again, this is implied to be the guy, the Irie. And then we get to see him here. If they found his body, why is he still like alive and covered in electrical tape? It's kind of implied from the footage that this was a long time ago, but I'm not sure if that's the case. And then, yeah, he's got a really weird looking body, or his hair's really long. I think his hair's really long. I don't think his shoulders look like this. Like this. I think he's got just massive delts. I don't think that's how it's looking. I think this is his hair, I believe. Yeah, there he is. It's the guy from that one picture. And again, I'm implying this is the Masami guy. But yeah, this is the last thing we see before the ED. This man's face. He's very important. He's involved in the 7th protocol. He's messed up a bunch of stuff. He knows a bunch of stuff about the network and the truth and the God and the people and the controlling and the knights and the... I'm guessing this guy is going to be very revelatory. And he's very interested in Lain, of course, as well. And what is this? It looks like he's got like sports tape on his face. Not quite sure. Not quite sure at all. But again, they found his body, so is this not Masami? This is somebody that worked with Masami, maybe? We'll see. We will see. Either way, that's the end of the episode for today. It was definitely the most confusing one yet, but I think we got to some semblance of a truth by the end of it, which is nice. I think I got it. I believe so. I was very spitbally and probably didn't make a lot of sense through a lot of it, but I try. I tried to make something of it. Sorry about the one episode this week, but it is what it is. There'll be 2 then 2 to finish off, because it'll be 10, 11, and then 12, 13. I think that makes for a good structure. And then, yeah, I think we're going to move into something very much not like Lain to replace this slot. Yeah, one, it's heady, and there's a lot of reading, and it's confusing. It's also just depressing. I just want some light fun next, maybe. Again, this is just spitballing. I could just, completely change my mind later on and do something else. But again, I'll put it to a poll. We'll see what comes out. But yeah, all in all, the episode, 2 thumbs up. Really enjoyable. Loving Lain. I think it's a really great show. I honestly think it's a little bit underrated. I think people are a little bit jaded about it, but I think it's pretty impressive what it does. Just my shield stuff before we finish off here. If you like the video, consider liking the video. If you like the video and want to see more, consider subscribing to the channel. Comment below anything you thought about the episode, anything I can do to improve my presentation, comment below. I'm doing follow for follow on Twitter, so follow me on Twitter if you would like me to follow you back. And the Discord, join the Discord. Love Discord. Comment about Lain on Discord and try to correct me on Discord. I don't know. We'll see how accurate I was. Either way, thanks for watching this week, and I'll catch you again next week for more Lain.